All right, we're good.
This one's got 2 copies.
Can't do it.
I'll read the email.
Dr. Green, we're ready whenever you are.
Okay. Do you want to go with Comcast first, or what do you want to do?
We can do that, it's fine. Okay.
It's okay.
All right, so we countered your counter with a couple of proposed changes. So the first change we had, or I should say addition, is under M, we've added in calculating the percentage of teachers on personal leave, any partial teacher shall equal a whole. So basically, we're asking to round up. So if we have 60 teachers at a school and say 8% can be on leave, that would be 4.8 teachers. So we're saying round that up to 5 teachers. And even if it was 4.1 or 4.2, we're asking that it's always rounded up. Okay? All right, and then we want to keep the word all in the second to last sentence there. A first line supervisor will have the flexibility to approve release following student dismissal for all members of the bargaining unit. You had crossed out the word.
Can I tell you why?
Sure.
Because all means they have authority over all members of the bargaining unit, and they don't. They have authority over their members of the bargaining unit. That's why we took the word all out.
So do you want it, you would be good with saying?
It's just they're the first line supervisor. They have the authority to release members of the bargaining unit. That worked for them.
Okay, so can we have that reflected?
Amazing.
Can we say first line supervisor will have the flexibility to approve release following student dismissal for
Is or her members of the bargaining unit, members under their supervision? Members under their supervision?
okay, for members under this. What?
Members of the bargaining unit under their supervision.
Why not? That's what the ESF thing.
We're trying to say this is everybody's eligible.
What?
We're trying to say everybody's eligible.
Yeah.
Everybody is eligible, but I
So how do you want to word it?
But Melissa can't say on Friday,
No,
oh,
Dr.
my
Green,
teachers
no,
can
no,
go
we-
home, which means that Mira's teachers can go home and Bobby's teachers
Yeah,
can go
Dr.
home.
Green, we agree. We
Okay.
get, but how do we say? How would you like us to say everyone's eligible?
Members of the bargaining unit. Because every time we say teachers, people say, but I'm not a teacher, but you're a member of the bargaining unit, right? So that's why we say members of the bargaining unit.
Okay, so a first line supervisor will have the flexibility to approve release following student dismissal for all members of the bargaining unit under,
Not for all, for members of the
I'm sorry,
bargaining
for
unit under
members-
his or her supervision.
supervision. Okay. All right, and then on the back, we've added something in because we believe we're conflating two different issues here in our discussion about leaving on Fridays versus the air conditioning isn't working, the carpet's being ripped up at ESF, the internet's down. So I've added a new 14 in M, teacher facilities. In the event that conditions at a work site hamper a member of the bargaining unit from completing their work, I guess I should say his or her, a first line supervisor will have the flexibility to release the member or allow the employee to work from home for the day. These events include, but are not limited to, no air conditioning, renovations, no or limited internet access, or broken equipment. I have in there release or allow them to work from home. If you want to say they're just released for the day because you don't feel like there's a policy governing that, that would be up to you, but I know our teachers would be working from home in most of those cases, so I left that like that. Any questions?
Okay, we have a couple pieces of information about insurance. So to answer the question about the COVID infusions or the infusions by the board to the general fund, the general fund has transferred $2.5 million in June of 2020, $2.5 million in December of 2020, $5 million in June of 2021.
Can you just share that email?
She's gonna get the journal entries. She couldn't get the journal entries. I'm gonna give it to you, but.
Can you go back? I'm sorry.
$2.5 million in June of 2020.
Okay.
$2.5 million in December of 2020. $5 million in June of 2021. And $1 million in December of 2021. So she's going to show the journal entries for that. Now, what she says is, in addition, we have gotten $8 million of ESSER funding. That is a fact. But our COVID costs have been $8.4 million. So they're $8.3 million, excuse me. So that ESSER money that is in the budget for COVID costs have been eaten up, and we still have $300,000 yet to pay.
So, $8 million came from the federal government, and you're saying BPS put that $8 million into the health insurance fund?
No, I'm not saying, I'm saying that $8 million is used for COVID funds. The projections, and correct me if I'm wrong, Antonia, the projections that we have worked with for insurance since I have been part of this team, which is now, this is, I believe, my third go-around, have not included all of the COVID difficulties.
Yeah.
It's been all about the insurance plan and the insurance fund. So it's like we had this new animal that came to being, which was COVID. It came with $8.3 million of expenses, and we had $8 million that we added to the ESSER grant to cover that. But that is...
So just so I'm understanding you correctly, I'm interpreting it as you're saying these costs right here, when we talk about medical, whatever, I mean, when we're looking at gross medical claims, these claims right here do not reflect any COVID claims?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying claims at all.
So when did they put in the $8 million into the trust fund?
I will, again, I have to get the journal entries for what she's saying, so I don't have the journal entries.
So
I have those transfers.
I think what we're saying is these amounts that you just read off include the $8 million. You didn't put in the separate amounts. You put in, sorry. You know, you said you were going to use district funds to do these one-time infusions, but you didn't use district funds. You used COVID reimbursements through the ARP and ESSER grant. That's what we're trying to get at. Is this a separate infusion, or is this the...
So money is money, right? And I think the example that they were using when we were talking about the situation is if I borrow $1,000 from you, I owe you $1,000, right? In the interim, you want to pay $1,000 to you wanna donate something, $1,000. You can't pay it until you get the money from me for that. We have this money, we have it in the general fund. We got $8 million of COVID money. We had $8.4 million of million dollars of COVID expenses. So as far as COVID goes,
So go back to then what Kyle is saying, that's not, the COVID cost wouldn't be in these numbers if what you're saying is accurate.
so on June 3rd, we passed this across, and all the infusions are at the bottom of this.
Dr. Green, I hate to say it, I mean, I think we're really hard just trying not to say BFT and Kyle was right. I mean, that's where we're at. The board did not take the COVID money and put it into the health insurance fund. Or if the board did, they pulled back what they already previously committed to in multiple budget presentations.
But you're asking about $8 million. If you look at the infusions, they add up to a lot more than $8 million.
The board gave presentations over the last 2 to 3 years to the committee, to the school board, to the community, at budget presentations. The board said we got one-time restraints, or however they worded it. The CFO stood up there and said it, and said we got to put one-time dollars towards this cause. Then the district cries broke because they put one-time money to the health insurance. What the district never did was say, oh, by the way, we got $8 million of that back, and we didn't pass it straight through the health insurance.
So, but what I'm hearing, and I'm talking out of turn here because Antonia knows the 100% of the health insurance, but what I'm hearing is that we didn't have a problem until we had COVID. That's what I'm hearing you say.
That's not what I said at all. I think the board's been dumping money in prior to COVID.
That's our point.
Dr. Green, since we're not going to agree on this topic, and I think there's more information, can you, are you at the point where you can answer the difference between the locked-in projection that shows a $6.7 million infusion by June and the updated that only shows $2.5 million?
No, we'll have to bring that back. Can you ask the question so we can address that new question?
I've already asked the question 3 times now, and I asked that this isn't a new question. This was a previous question.
I'm sorry, I didn't have
I have the ESSER money. Is that what the board is using as infusions to healthcare?
You don't have any question about the $6.7 million infusion?
Did board make an infusion, a total of $6.7 million? And it's on this sheet, all the infusions. Right?
This sheet, this projection was presented to SIAC. Are we on the same sheet now?
No, I don't have that
Yeah.
sheet.
This is
When what's the date of that sheet?
this is the sheet you just passed to me.
Oh, this morning?
Like,
Okay.
I mean, come on, guys.
We can't
Yeah.
see across there, so we need clarification. Thank you, though.
But it's like we're not making this up, and every time we get accused like we're making something
All
up.
right, so where are you on the sheet?
As of January 1st, 2022, so the first column, Lockton did a suggestion that the board infuse $6.7 million.
Okay.
On this, in the second column that says as of June 24th, it says the infusion is $2.7 million. So did the board make a $6.7 million infusion or a $2.7 million infusion?
So I have to go back to our accountant and ask for that. That's part of the data we weren't able to get right away. I think I shared that the system is closed right now. I can't pull anything. This is of year end. Can't do anything at all. It does not open until this week, so I cannot pull that data. That is why we can't provide you the journal entries at this moment.
So nobody in BPS knows if
I
they spent
can't
$6.7 million on health insurance between January and June.
I would like to say absolutely yes, but until I have a piece of paper in front of me, I can't make the assumption because I don't move money around in BPS.
They want to see it in that journal.
No, Dr. Green, according to your point, because I can see what she's pointing to, You told us they didn't make any infusion this year yet. The last
I-
infusion was
I have
1
not
million
ever
in
said that.
December in 2021. You just read off journal entries and you said the last
Because she
infusion.
can't get to right now to your inbox.
Okay.
And as soon as she can get to them, I can give you the journal. Did you want to talk about?
They never made it. Yeah, they never made it. They lied on that sheet.
Just like one, it's Chris Claus. The whole packet, the whole
No,
process.
it's, hold on, I think, I wrote it down. The one from June of 21 is fiscal year 2021. So on this sheet, they said they made 11.7 million, but from Dr. Green's numbers, it was only 1 million. Even though this sheet says they made 11.7.
So keep in mind that what we're showing you is fiscal year and that healthcare runs off claim year. Also, don't forget about that.
Dr. Green, please, please, it's a little insulting. Like, we understand, and we continually ask the same questions, and we just don't get an answer. Like, from what you're saying, from June of 2021 till now, as far as you know, because they can't get into the records, there was a $1 million infusion in December of 2021.
Here's the thing, no, we answered the question, we answer on like every time we move the table. I have them written down from 3 times ago, so let me find the things I wrote down, because
Okay,
about 3
so-
sessions
No, you
ago, I
just
have.
read it.
So on this sheet right here that you gave us last time, monthly employee premiums, you said the board non-recurring in 21-22 was $11.7 million. Do you see that? On this one, it said that 21-22,
Yes,
11.7. So what Kyle's trying to say is, we believe during that fiscal year, based on what you said, you only put in $1 million. So only the December 2021 would be that fiscal year, which is that fiscal year 21.
Yeah, it runs from July 1st till June 30th.
July 1st, 21 to June 1st, 20.
June 30th.
June 30th,
And according to what Dr. Green said, the only, right, Anthony?
yeah.
that what happened?
Okay, so this says $11.7 million went in fiscal year 21. But what you just read us, the entries you just read us, only the $1 million was in fiscal year 21. So we're saying, where's the other $10.7 million that the board said they were gonna put in non-recurring in fiscal year 21?
It's really hard to do this without having the books in front of you, so I'm just gonna have to say we're gonna find it. It's been in all the presentations that have been made, to the board and in the paperwork, but to find it in my pieces of paper, because it's not my area, I'm
Dr.
gonna have
Green,
to wait to get the journal.
Can we just circle back on one thing, just so we have it right? From that email you had, can you reread us the journal entries?
I'm not reading the journal entries, I'm reading an email. When she
Okay,
sends the
can you
journal
read-
entries, I'll
Can you
have
please
those.
reread that email, because we wanna make sure.
2.5 in
June of 2020.
2020,
Okay,
2.5 in December of 2020,
okay,
5 million in 6 of 21,
so June 21,
1 million in 12 of 21.
okay.
summary of what you had in the biggest stapled documents from this morning. It just summarizes the cost. If you would look at the first section, it outlines January through April 2022, what our expenses were as it relates to vaccination, and then the claim spend and the test spend for COVID. And so that we can also keep that running total for the previous years. The second area in there outlines January 2020 through December 2021. And then the last area outlines all of the spend altogether. So altogether, after you add those two together, we have 8.315 million that includes the vaccination, and then the cost for spending for tests and claims for COVID. So is this the type of breakdown we're looking for?
Yeah, that's what we're looking for, but the follow-up question is, so where did that reimbursement go?
Okay. We'll come back to you as we just outlined to you in our conversation, okay?
I guess, what I'm getting at is if that wasn't put in, that throws off the whole, estimated, whatever you guys call that other
So,
page.
On May 26th, there was a presentation,
And
I believe, around the end of May, it might not have been on the 26th, but around the end of May, and it talked about what the ending fund balance, what had to come out of the ending fund balance, and I'm pretty sure that it's been shared. But included in health insurance is $3.1 million and a healthcare infusion of $6.7 million, in addition to some other things. So this was created at the end of May, and it was for what was going to have to come out of the end of the ending fund balances at the end of the year. So I think you'll see it when we can get to it.
Okay.
And they haven't showed it, so.
Okay. On the second document, which is stapled, this is data from April as it relates to the silver and gold comparison that was requested this morning. I don't have May, and April is the most current one that I have this morning.
So for the silver plan, we're seeing $202 per member per month. That is showing that that's a surplus of $202 per member per month for the silver plan. I'm looking at the middle of the page where it says total.
I'm sorry, I didn't know if there was a question or you were just reading a statement.
I'll leave it as a statement. So
Okay.
we're running a surplus in the silver and a deficit in the gold.
As of April, that is correct.
Okay.
Okay, so, I pass the salary counter. You know, we've agreed to a lot of things here tonight, and I think a lot of good things, and I think things that teachers are gonna be looking forward to, and I really hope we can come to some agreement on salary to move forward and get on to the next items that we have to talk about. We have agreed to 10 days of paid parental leave. We've agreed to $45 to cover a class, and if teachers are covering classes for a half a day, it's $135, and if they're covering classes, a mixture of classes for a whole day, it's $270. We have moved the supplement for years of service to 11 years this year coming forward, so that's an advantage for teachers who have 11 years with us. We've added ESE support specialists to the ESF supplement schedule for resource teachers. We are the first to agree, and I know you keep saying it's not us at the table, that it's the board and Dr. Mullins, and everyone is adamant that teachers need more money. Everyone gets it, and we want to be able to get a resolution on what we can do, get an agreement on what we can do so that we can move on to the village and perhaps we can address the needs of teachers in a greater way than we're able to do with our own budgetary constraints. And so I think we have made some moves in both salary and insurance. So I'm gonna pass what we have now. So I just want to say one thing before we talk about this, and that is I have to remind everybody that this is the last year that the tiered adjustment could be part of the TSIA monies. And when we look at the differences between a flat tier and the tiered increase, I think it's really important, especially for those teachers that have 16 or more years with the district, to be able to realize, recurring funds that are going to be in their paychecks. So I just would like to say that. So this one has a couple of different options related to whether it's a flat adjustment or a tiered adjustment. In the flat adjustment, it raises the minimum base salary to $48,388. The largest increase for an employee on the grandfathered schedule is $1,850. Pay for performance is, for highly effective pay for performance, is $1,267. Effective and those on the grandfathered schedule would be $950. And again, the tiered adjustment is a flat $900 for anybody with 6 or more years. If it's a greater tiered adjustment, the new minimum base salary becomes $48,913. The largest increase for an employee on the grandfathered schedule would be $2,550. And the pay for performance for highly effective on the pay for performance salary schedule is $1,000. And the effective and the grandfathered folks are at $750. Once you take the TSIA out of it, the district is adding, for salaries only, the $4,175,000, which brings the total package that we've agreed to so far to $12,449,000. On the back, we continue to show representative samples of what total new monies would be for some of your teachers. New monies. For 22-23. And I know it's been a month since we've been at the table, but, you know, we don't want to forget the premium pay that we do have included, that we've already agreed to and has been board approved for next year, up to 34, up to 4,400 possibly for the teachers that are earning the years of service payment.
So what would, Dr. Mullins, what would Mr. Belford, what would Matt Susan, what would Cheryl McDougall, Jennifer Jenkins, and Katie Campbell, what are their suggestions? What am I gonna go tell the members? Well, sorry, in Lake County, they got a raise of $4,625, and in Orange County, they got $3,325. And this is what Brevard has to offer. You're already $1,600 below the state average, although you're the third most experienced workforce. So really, what does Dr. Mullins do? Blame it on the union? Blame it on the district chief negotiator? What's his message to our teachers? Come to Brevard where you'll be underpaid and overworked, and we got 200 vacancies?
I would say, first of all, Lake is half of our size, so it's a relatively not a good comparison, and Orange County is twice our size.
It doesn't matter. I'll bring
just,
you any kind of district, and we're getting.
Also, when you continue to say things like we're third from the bottom, 48th in the state, I'm not sure how you phrase it. You know, those figures are from 2 years ago, and we've also had some increases this year that aren't in there.
State numbers for this year.
Well, some of those figures are prior to negotiations happening across the state, and we've had some figures that are still not reflected in there as well. I can't speak to what he's going to say about Lake and Orange County. I'm going to say that having new monies in teachers' pockets that range anywhere from $4,300 to $6,600 of new money for next year is a pretty darn good enticing
If it
paycheck.
was recurring, yes.
Understand that.
It's
That's
not.
that's when we get into the discussion about the millage.
We're not working for tips. I mean, that's what the
Understand.
bonuses are. Those are tips. We don't want tips. We want raises. So I'm just going to tell you, there's no way that I could bring this back to the membership and sell it. And I would love to have Dr. Mullins or Ms. Belford come in and tell me what to tell the teachers that I represent. Tell them why they deserve less than counties around them
I
and
think
districts
it-
throughout the state and teachers throughout the country. I want to know. I invite Ms. Belford, Dr. Mullins to come in here and tell our teachers
I can't
what's
speak
the
to
message.
what they would say, but Mr. Palucci, when you have people with 16 years or more who are going to have $3,400 in premium pay, an increase of $1,850 into their paycheck for a total new money of $5,450. Teachers with 26 years, $6,150. I cannot believe that a teacher, until a millage might kick in, would be turning away a $6,000 increase to a paycheck. What is $6,000 divided by 24 pays? I hear what you say about recurring, but recurring money has to be there. And at this moment in time, the recurring money that we're offering is $4 million. On top of all of the other things that we've already agreed to, bringing the amount to $12,449,000. So again, my paycheck, whether it's recurring or not, I'm going to see an amount of money in my paycheck if I were a teacher getting this proposal. We talked about the millage, we talked about the necessity for it. They would agree teachers need more. Absolutely, teachers need more. But we need more revenue coming in. So you can't pull money when it isn't When you look at,
You know,
Rebecca, help me with this statement. When you look at TSIA, and we've gotten TSIA, the revenue that we receive continues to go down for salary increases. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So, when we're
Why does
getting
the
less
revenue
and
continue to
less-
go down, Dr. Green?
I'm sorry?
Why does the revenue, let's go down this road. Why does the revenue continue to go down? Why?
Well, because they're subsidizing less and less money. Our charter school numbers are going up. Our must-pays are going up.
Because
The
our student-
categoricals-
that's not-
categoricals are going up.
That's not why that pot of money is going down. That pot of money is going down because student enrollment is going down.
That's
You-
one piece of.
No, that's
of-
the only piece that factors into that money. I know I read the reports. We can get into it if you want to. What else is happening since you first agreed to that? The number of teachers also went down as well. So the cost to you went down, but we don't talk about that point ever. All we ever talk about is how BPS is in the worst budget place out of everybody in the state of Florida. That's all we
Again.
ever hear.
Again, I'm gonna say, if I'm a teacher that has, 21 years of experience and I see $5,800 of new money, which is 9.7% more than what I saw last year, I would have a really hard time to say no to that.
tips,
You know what, I have a daughter who works in the service industry and she doesn't make close to that.
is it-
So let me just say that.
those are tips.
I know what the service industry makes, so I think that's
Those are tips.
disingenuous comment.
Those are tips. We're not working for tips. So, once again, you're throwing out these numbers, so our largest increase would be 2,550 on this scale, right, on the tiered adjustment. Looking at 3,325 in orange and 4,625 in Lake.
I'm not sure what you're reading from, but I see on the flat adjustment, a teacher at 11 years making total new money in 23 of 6,967, so I'm not sure what
I'm
you're
looking
reading.
at the total recurring, I'm not reading you.
3,367.
You're including the 11th year longevity.
Sure,
That's
because
not-
that's recurring money. And
That's
that
only for
was,
the 11th year teacher.
that was part of the it's 11 and above.
Well, that was already in place.
Right.
So
But
we're
it's-
now
it's
getting,
a
you're
salary
counting that
adjustment
raise.
that we negotiated to make a difference in teachers' paychecks, so we have to look at it.
Are we trying to recruit for our district or trying to recruit for other districts? Or when they're,
Trying to
should
settle
we
with
just
our
redirect
teachers.
them from our website to Orange County?
We're trying to settle with our teachers so that we can move on to other sorts of things, like the millage.
We're here to negotiate the actual dollars, not hypothetical, maybe dollars.
But we can
Yeah.
only negotiate the dollars that we have. We can't negotiate dollars that we don't have.
All right, well, keep looking for dollars you have. That's what I'll tell you. And like I said, if you want to bring Dr. Mullins in and he can sit in front of the camera and let our teachers know why they deserve so much less than our counterparts, I'd be happy to give him that opportunity. If you want to bring in, Misty or Matt or whoever, they could try to explain to the teachers, because I'm not going to explain to them.
So a teacher who is currently making $61,345, who then goes up to on recurring money, another $1,850 on top of that. I'm not sure what you're saying.
Well, I'm saying it's significantly less than what our counterparts are receiving. And then, and secondly, that teacher may be on a family health insurance plan and is looking at $1,000 worth of health insurance premiums as well, premium increases as well.
That we haven't shared with our employees for over 7 years.
That's inaccurate. I don't want to keep pointing that out. That's not accurate. Premiums just went up on the gold plan
But that's on the
2
gold
years
plan,
ago.
that's a different plan.
It's not a different plan, that was the same plan. The silver plan is a different plan. All right, well, we're rejecting that offer, and we'll give you, we'll consider a counter.
Is the Orange County 3325 pay for performance? Or is it grandfathered?
The Orange County is pay for performance, it's, they don't have it broken out that way. Or-
Well, because remember, grandfathered is 25% less than highly effective pay for performance.
So in Lake, it's broken out
So-
that way. On the grandfather, it's 3,700.
Can't be.
46 and 37, that could be.
You can't have pay for performance of 3325 and a grandfathered of more than that unless there's
No.
something else included.
You do realize that
Um,
every district
I'm-
can interpret things differently, right?
So the PSCs is 3,700, the annuals is 46.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I might- Yeah, like I said, I can't bring this to the membership, and, you know, I'd love to hear from some of our district leaders as to how they think this is gonna help, recruit people to Brevard. I mean, like I said, I feel like we're just.
Well, I don't know that this is about recruiting people to BAR. This is about our salaries right now for our teachers that
Or,
are here.
okay, or retaining them, Okay, so, we're rejecting that offer, and we'll consider a counter.